What's going on, everybody? We are Bros and Beers, and tonight we're going to give you some waiver pickups for Week 9 of the regular season. Some of the players we're going to talk about today include Cedric Tillman, Bo Nix, Jameis Winston, Matt Stafford, Zach Ertz, Elijah Moore, Parker Washington, Isaac Guerendo, and Brenton Strange. After that, we're going to give you some players that you could potentially drop for some of these players. Ron, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. It was a long Monday, but glad to be here talking football and giving some advice to the people.
Heck yeah, dude. Tomorrow night we're going to actually go over a recap of the weekend, but tonight it's all about waiver ads. So
Yeah.
Cedric Tillman. He is the first guy we're going to talk about tonight. And we're going to just go over things that you should know. So Cedric Tillman's only owned in 24% of the leagues. He had almost 29 points, played in 90% of the snaps, had a 22% target share. He was fifth in the league in 159 air yards. A lot of catchable balls as well. So he was 7 for 7 on catchable balls. And next week he plays against the Chargers. I personally would use a number one waiver claim on him if you have it, and give or take like 25% fab.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
Bo
you
Nix?
see.
Oh,
I was just gonna add with Tillman. He seems to have a good chemistry with Jameis Winston too. So you like to see that with a guy coming in. So definitely, if you need a wide receiver, go grab him.
I agree.
But yeah, Bo Nix. I actually picked him up in a lot of leagues last week and was happy about it. But he's still only owned in 35% of sleeper leagues right now. He had 29.76 points, 4 total touchdowns, 3 through the air, 1 on the ground, which we love to see in leagues that only do 4 points for passing touchdowns. But 76% completion percentage, 196 air yards, which was 4th in the league this week, 9 red zone attempts. Team was in the red zone a lot, and they let him kind of just do his thing, kind of let him loose. So it was good to see, even though it was against the Panthers, it was good to see him take advantage of a good matchup. And he looked really good. If you're in need of a quarterback or somebody to stash on your bench, or just need somebody to have as a bye week replacement, Bo Nix is looking like a guy that you could go spend a high waiver pick on. Maybe if you're looking for like a keeper, dynasty too, go spend some money on Bo Nix. I'd say maybe 10-15% of your fab. Maybe go a little higher. It all kind of depends on if other teams in your league need a quarterback too.
Yeah, I'm glad I own him in one league. It's keeper league.
Yeah, I got him in 3, so
He's a stud.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Jameis Winston's our next quarterback you can pick up. He's only owned in 11% of the leagues. He had almost 24 points and 6-point passing touchdowns. Very efficient with 66% completion percentage. He's going to sling the ball. So he had 272 yards in the air. He's not really going to let his receivers do a lot of the work. Next week he plays against the Chargers. So not a great matchup. I know before this week they were only allowing 13.8 points per game, but he shredded the Baltimore Ravens this week. If you need a quarterback in Superflex or bye week, he's a great ad or a great stream. If you need a quarterback, I think he's worth a number one waiver claim, especially in Superflex. Maybe like 15% fab in that kind of league. He's not worth much in Dynasty because he's only 30. So if he plays till he's 40, that's 10 good years. But the next player we're going to talk about is a little bit older. Ron, why don't you tell the people about Matt Stafford, why you should add him?
Matt Stafford only owned in 33% of sleeper leagues last week. Against the Vikings, had 25.76 points, threw 4 touchdowns, and he looked really good. with his two top weapons back with Puka and Cup. Spread 17 targets to the 2, 9 for Puka, 8 to Cup. 74% completion percentage and 170 air yards. We know how good this offense can be with Puka and Cup healthy. And with Kyron Williams as well. It's another guy that you can't really be one-dimensional when you're playing against this team. Stafford, we know, is a good quarterback, and you see a lot of these other quarterbacks coming in that are a little bit older, like Winston, Joe Flacco, coming in and playing really well, and Stafford's been a starter his whole career, and he'll probably keep up numbers as long as his two top weapons are back. So, next week they play Seattle. Seattle just played Buffalo, played pretty decent, but Seattle's a pretty good matchup. So, you need a guy, again, as a stream option, bye week option, stashed on the bench. Doesn't have a whole lot of value beside just as that, honestly, right now, unless he proves that he can keep putting up these numbers week to week.
Well, and maybe he could with those wide receivers. Not a lot of value in
right.
Dynasty or Keeper, mainly redraft.
Mm-hmm. Right.
As far as a tight end, though, so we've got a couple options for you. I think we should go over the two tight ends next. First one is Zach Ertz, only owned in 40% of sleeper leagues. He's got back-to-back weeks with 14 or more points in PPR. He's starting to play more. So this past week he played in 76% of the snaps. Had a 30% target share. So Daniels is looking his way a ton. He had 11 targets, 94 air yards, 7 for 7 on catchable balls. So Daniels is feeding him. It's accurate and looking his way a lot. Next week he plays against the Giants in New York. So not a great matchup. But if you need a tight end, I mean, with the way the tight end's been this year, pick him up. I think he's going to be great the rest of the year.
He's been pretty consistent so far this year in a weak position, and it looks like Daniels has been looking his way when he needs a security blanket. So we know how good this Commanders offense is. So if you need a tight end, he's worth grabbing as a top waiver wire if you're really, like we said, thin position this year. So if you need it, go get him.
Correct. And maybe like 15% fab, give or take?
Yeah, I'd say 10-15%. Again, you kind of see if anybody else needs them, what they kind of have left, and I would definitely base fab off of what the rest of your league kind of needs as far as positions and stuff, and who's got money and who doesn't, and maybe you need to put a little bit more depending on if somebody else has money and needs a tight end. But yeah, I'd say 10 to 15% is a good start. Next tight end is Brenton Strange, 4% owned in sleeper leagues. He played 39% of the snaps, but still had 5 targets. The Jaguars are probably going to be deploying a lot more 2 tight end sets, especially since Davis is banged up, Thomas got banged up, and we don't really know the extent of their injuries. And I'm pretty sure I saw that Christian Kirk broke his collarbone, and he's out. Yeah. He's already been ruled out for the rest of the year. So it looks like Brenton Strange, if he gets the opportunity, it looks like he's getting the ball thrown to him. He's behind Evan Ingram, so maybe try to get Zach Ertz before him and try to not spend a whole lot of money on him. But we saw Ingram get hurt early this year. Like we like to say, never try to bring injuries into it. But he's worth picking up, and if you need, again, another person that's a streamer or a bye week replacement, could be worth it.
And he's young, so in Dynasty, he's definitely worth holding on to. With Ingram he's 29, I think. He's getting up there.
Right.
Not a great quarterback, but still, bye week option, streamable. It's a bad position, so you never know. They could just use 2 tight ends. I'm going to stick with the Jaguars, and I'm going to move on to the wide receiver to add for Jacksonville, and that's Parker Washington. He's owned in, it's probably a little bit more than this, but it says 0% on Sleeper. He played in 73% of the snaps. He only had 7.6 points, but that was most of that was after the people got hurt. We already said that Kirk is out for the year. Davis and Thomas Jr. are banged up. I do know Thomas Jr. is week to week, so Parker Washington could be a couple week. He could be valuable for a couple weeks. In that small time, I know it says 73% of snaps, but he still had 4 targets, 3 catches for 46 yards, 57 air yards. So majority of it was catch and run, but still only a 13% target share. A lot of it, like I said, was after Kirk went out, and he did have 2 catches over 10 yards and 1 over 20. So maybe Lawrence could open it up a little more with him. Next week they do play against the Eagles, which is, I think, a cakewalk matchup. If you really need a wide receiver, I'm going to add Tillman over him. But, he's still worth the number 1 waiver if you need a wide receiver. Give or take 18% fab. With all the injuries to wide receivers, you could need a wide receiver really bad. So,
he could end up taking Kirk's spot as the slot guy and get peppered with targets.
Correct.
So, never know. We'll see what happens with him next couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Next guy is another Browns player, Elijah Moore. Only owned in 7% of sleeper leagues. He scored 16.5 points. He had 8 catches on 12 targets for 85 yards. He was the team target leader. He had 95 air yards on those 85 yards, 29% target share, and he had 4 catches over 10 yards. We know he's not a bad wide receiver. He's shown flashes of being good. And I think he's finally got a quarterback that can, throw the ball to him, and he could be a Browns player. We saw what this Browns team can do when you get a guy that can actually play the quarterback position. And, another wide receiver where if you can't get one of these other guys we're talking about, definitely got a boost from Winston being in there.
Mm-hmm.
If you need a wide receiver, it's your wide receiver 3, flex position guy, somewhere to fill in when you get a good matchup. Elijah Moore is definitely worth the pickup, and throwing 10%, 15% of your FAAB out there on him, because with Winston probably, I think he proved that he should be the start of the rest of the year. So, all these Browns skill position players probably got a big boost with that performance for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it looks like Winston's going to play the rest of the year. So either of the 2 Browns wide receivers are worth it. Should be able to get 8 to 10 targets a game, and not a lot of running backs this week just because there weren't a lot of injuries, not a lot of the main guys are still playing that are owned a lot. So our running back ad of the week is Isaac Guerendo. He is on bye, so he's more of a stash in case CMC does not come back right away, or if CMC gets hurt again. Only owned in 9% of the sleeper leagues. He had 19.6 points this past week. Mason was hot garbage, so he came in for him. 6.1 yards per carry, 3 rushes over 10 yards. Plain and simple, the 49ers need some weapons on their team, and Guerendo could be that guy. And he's young, so he could have a little bit of dynasty or keeper value. CMC's got a lot of tread on those tires. So if you need a running back, more of a bench play, just like a home, a lottery ticket. Especially not if you need somebody this week because he's not playing. So
he looked good with the opportunities he had. Mason re-aggravated that shoulder injury, so who knows how they're going to play with him. We definitely don't know when CMC is going to be coming back. I know they're shooting for week 10, but that's still not a guarantee. So if you need some running back depth, it definitely would help to. It always is nice to have running back depth in fantasy football. We saw what he can do with the opportunities that he got.
And he
Looked
did.
really explosive. So
He had a good week. Was it last week when Mason got hurt, or was it the week before?
I think it was a couple weeks ago. Yeah, when he came in when Mason originally sustained that injury, he played really well. Looked really explosive. So I think they were saying last night on the broadcast the dude runs like a 4.33 or something. So we know he's fast.
That was 2 weeks ago. He had
10
10 for 99. He's a rookie, so Dynasty, he's got value.
Yeah.
Yeah, he who knows. But let's
Yeah,
go.
could be a good handcuff. So
Let's go over some players that you could drop. So wide receivers, I would say anybody not named Cup or Puka on the Rams. Dontavian Wicks seems like he's the odd man out in Green Bay. You got Reed, Dobbs, and Kraft. Although at the same time, Love is hurt, so definitely makes them droppable.
I would definitely be cautious with any Packer wide receiver if Love is not playing.
Correct.
Although Malik Willis has looked pretty good, so
he has, and he looks like he's not going to throw the ball deep. He's more so just going to let the playmakers do what they can after the catch.
Right.
Sterling Shepard, he seems like the odd man out in Tampa Bay. Juwan Jennings, they're on bye and should get some players back. You want to go over the running backs, quarterbacks, any tight ends that you might drop for some of these players?
So for running backs, the Dallas Cowboys is just a team to avoid when it comes to running backs. You know, they tried to deploy Dalvin Cook last night. Didn't work out too well. Zeke is washed. He's over the hill. Rico Dowdle is subpar at best. I mean, maybe Rico is like...
He's probably the one to own.
He's probably the one to own, and if you're gonna play one, he might be the one to play, but only if you're like desperate.
Correct.
Would be my stance on that. Devin Singletary might be somebody to drop. You know, he got hurt, and Tracy definitely looked like the better running back out of the two when he got his opportunities. And even I know neither one of them got a whole lot of opportunities last week, but watching this Monday night game right now, Tracy is definitely dominating the touches. And I know Tracy's actually been picked up in a lot of leagues, otherwise he might be on here. But I think he's already owned in over 60% of leagues. Caleb Williams, he's been pretty up and down so far this year. He'll have a good week, a bad week, a couple good weeks. You know, the other three guys that we mentioned earlier might end up being more consistent. You know, Stafford and Winston are veterans. They've played the game. They kind of know
their floors are safe.
They're vets. Yeah, their floors are safe. We've seen what Caleb's is right now as a rookie. If you're playing in a dynasty or a super flex, maybe not. Maybe don't drop him because obviously he's got long-term value. And he's still a decent quarterback when he gets a good matchup in super flex. But if you're in like a one QB redraft league and you're relying on him to get you points on a week-to-week basis, he might not be the guy to keep playing. He's got a terrible offensive line. I think teams know how to beat him right now is to just pressure him in the face, and can't play quarterback when you're on your back.
No.
But yeah, you got anybody else that people should drop if they're trying to pick up one of these players?
Well, so I'm going to add one last player. I'm not even going to say much about him, but if you need another tight end, just in case all the other guys are taken or you can't get them, with Diggs potentially being out, Dalton Schultz could be a guy to add.
Yep.
As far as tight ends to drop, I would say, God, is Noah Fant even owned in a lot of leagues? No, he's not. Cole Kmet was really bad, but I still wouldn't drop him.
He's another guy that's he's been,
He's
when
up and
Williams has
down.
been up, he's been up. When Williams has been down, he's been down.
Correct.
But when Williams is playing well, he looks like he's one of his top targets. And he's young, and we know how good he is when he can get opportunities. So it's tough to drop a guy like that. But
I mean,
when you're not playing in a dynasty or a keeper league, it's not what you can do for me tomorrow. It's what you can do for me today. And
well,
Cole Kmet isn't giving you what you need.
no.
You know.
I know he's your guy, but with Drake maybe potentially going down, Hunter Henry could be a guy to drop.
Yeah, who knows how long,
Jake
concussions
Ferguson
can be a
has
weird
been
thing. So
terrible. Who else? Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of the big guys that have been fine now. Kelsey, Pitts is showing up. Kittle's great, but yeah, I don't have anybody else to add for ads or drops. So,
yeah, me either. I think these are the best guys.
not a great running
Not
back
really.
week.
Yeah, not like we said. Not really a good week for running backs. The best one we got on here is going on by. Might have Mason and Steamsy back, but like we said, good stash. Guerendo.
Correct. Tomorrow night we are
Always
going
nice
to
to have running
do
back depth.
another video on just a weekend recap, takeaways, go over our breakouts and starts for the week. We'll be live on YouTube again. Like always, like, comment, and subscribe. If you comment on our videos, any football related questions, we'll make sure to either comment with an answer or talk about it in our video. Subscribe and you'll get notifications whenever we're live or we post videos. We got a Discord where we post rankings and we just talk a lot of football. We got Twitch, which Friday nights we'll go live and maybe play some Madden, so on and so forth. X, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. So yeah, tomorrow night we'll be live again. Good night, everyone.
Peace. Nice, short and sweet.
That was 22 minutes. Are we going to stop streaming as well, I'm guessing?
9:30. Yeah, I mean, I don't.